Welcome back to Big Mouth and welcome to the dceu Daily and Zack Snyder's marketing campaign for his Justice League movie goes from strength to strength. Look at this baby. Look at Henry Cavill's black-suited Superman. Yes, yesterday we had a trailer tease for Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut, which launches on Sunday, the real trailer. And what's even more exciting, that the boss, aka Zack, has told Fiona that the trailer he's releasing is to kind of show mainstream audiences a film that they could be interested in. I'm holding this up as long as possible because it is a thing of beauty, isn't it? Wow, absolutely fantastic. So as usual, while we're celebrating and getting the Snyder Cut and the Zack Snyder's Justice League hashtag to trend, yet again, it's been an almighty week from Zack Snyder in the marketing for his Justice League movie. We've had stills of the Joker, an exclusive interview from Zack with Vanity Fair. We've seen the real Steppenwolf in his glory chopping up the Amazonians, and then we just had the black-suited Superman. So as usual, a few haters calling this evil Superman. So yet again, I have to expose you and explain what we've seen here. So this is not evil Superman. This man is not evil. This is Superman, just like in the death of Superman and Superman Lives story. This is a Superman that's just risen. Now, the only difference between this Superman who's just risen from the dead and the one in the comics is this one is also under the control of Darkseid. So this is Superman risen from the dead in Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut, but he's also under the control of Darkseid, right? Now, I could be wrong about that. Maybe that was going to be Justice League 2, but I think he's literally under Darkseid's control. If I'm wrong about that, you can comment down below in the comments. You're either watching it on a live premiere or you're watching it afterwards when you've got time to do so. So you can correct me if I'm wrong. So, how can this man be evil if he's under the control of an evil man? So this is not evil Superman. The only other time we've seen this Superman acting like this is in Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice, again in the Nightmare Future flash forward from Batfleck, where he kills Batfleck, right? Because again, he's under the control of Darkseid. Again, I'm not sure if I'm right about that. I'm not sure if it's just in the Nightmare Future that he's under Darkseid's control, or if he's under Darkseid's control there. But whatever the case may be, this is a man who's risen from the dead. Now, let me explain to you what the black suit in the comics is all about. Now, he's wearing the black suit in the comics because what this does, it helps attract the rays of the sun to him to give him more strength, to help him heal faster. But it's a fantastic trailer tease. Again, we saw more of Steppenwolf. We saw more of Wonder Woman. It's a really, really great tease. And again, Zack Snyder's done it again. He's given us a fabulous week of fantastic marketing, and given the Snyder Cut hashtag and the Zack Snyder's Justice League hashtag, a really big opportunity to trend. And I think if all you're going to be focused on is that Superman's evil, I don't believe that. He is in a dark place when he first rises from the dead. We don't know the context of this, but looking at this again, let's get rid of the notifications because they're annoying. But yeah, looking at this again, this can only be Superman that's just risen. Now this scene does look very similar to what we saw in Justice League when he's heat visioning Steppenwolf near the end of the movie in the third act. So it could be possible that Whedon took this, gave him his red suit back, and got him to be fighting Steppenwolf. So he could actually be fighting Steppenwolf in this moment. Again, I'm not sure, but who knows? So this is a wonderful moment because we're seeing what we fought for and what Zack fought for the past 4 years coming to fruition. So it's very, very emotional for all of us, and I know that. But if we can all just hold our nerve and do as great as we're doing with promoting the hashtags, really fighting for this movie. But of course, it's not just about making this movie successful. Of course, making this movie a record-breaking streaming event is extremely important, because this, of course, leads into the future of restoring the Snyderverse. Now, one of the things that, I mean, Zack's done a lot of interviews with other YouTubers, Snyderverse fans, where they've said, will there be more? And he says, probably not. But obviously, he's being a bit mischievous there, because he wants to get us to react to that and, hashtag restore the Snyderverse. Zack's a very clever tactician, as I've mentioned before. But also, the question that nobody's ever asked is, do you want to do more, Zack? If he was here right now on a Zoom call and I was interviewing him, I'd say, listen, Zack, I don't want to ask you the question, will there be more? Will the studio allow you to do more? What I would ask him is, are you fed up of it all? Are you fed up of the toxicity and negativity? Are you done with DC after this Justice League restoration? Or are you happy to do more if you get the call? Now, this is the situation, isn't it? It's one thing to be talking to everyone and to be pushing this film, but where does Zack Snyder and his wife, Deb, sit with this? Are they going to move on and just work exclusively with Netflix and have the freedom to do their own projects, but wave goodbye, let go of the DC brand, which Zack is absolutely in love with? After all, he's given us a trilogy. If he does no more, that's still a beautiful trilogy with a beginning, middle, and ending. But there's so much more to tell. And of course, I'm convinced that Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut actually is going to have a little bit of a cliffhanger. Maybe it won't be a cliffhanger in the ending, but just before the ending. Something to keep us, continue the story. I'm convinced about that. But where do the Snyders stand on this? Do they want to do more? Now, my hunch is that he does, but he's been through a lot. It's been a hugely emotional, draining journey for Zack. Imagine what it's been for us, the people who have fought along his side. But to think about what Zack has sacrificed, what he's lost, which, the loss of his daughter has nothing to do with these DC movies, but they are integrally linked. He was working on the property while he lost his daughter. So I don't know where he is with this, and we're going to find out. Either we're going to have, what, guys, I've done my trilogy, it's time to move on, or he's going to say it's been extremely successful. I've been asked by the studio to do more. It's going to take time because I'm quite busy right now, but we're going to get there. Now, as I've said, I think that Zack wants to do more. I believe that. But I'm not Zack. I'm not in his head. So it's very important, whatever happens, to respect any decision Zack's made. He's given so much to us. He's given us a DC modern-day trilogy like no other. And some people may hate it. It doesn't matter. Worry about what you love and what you like. Don't worry if people hate what you love. That's up to them. That is their divine right, not to like what you like. And you can have a heated debate, but be very respectful and leave the swear words at home behind their backs. This really is a Justice League Superman trilogy that really is about the world and society that we live in today. In 1978, the world would have embraced Superman. They were desperate for a bright-coloured, happy Superman and for someone to catch them when they fell. But we're in a kind of 9/11 state, COVID state now, where nobody trusts anyone and we're all paranoid and we all have arguments about politics on Twitter and it's a tennis match. I say one thing, you say the other, you block me, you mute me, and then you go slag me off behind my back and then we do videos about each other. This is the world we live in, and this is the world Snyder is depicting. I remind you again of the heinous, hideous event that happened at the Capitol building in Washington, in the United States, a mere few weeks ago. This is exactly what Snyder was labeling. I'm not saying he predicted it, But what happens to Superman at at the building, at the Senate building or wherever it is, when literally there's an explosion in a disabled person's wheelchair, a disabled person that Lex has manipulated to be there. The whole thing with Trump motivating those people to be there, but not actually be there himself. This is exactly what Lex Luthor did in BVS. So this really is a Justice League trilogy shadowing the world we live in. I don't like the term a timely story, but Zack Snyder's Justice League trilogy is a timely story, if you like it or not. And so it's going to be there for the ages. The effects are beautiful. The VFX is on the mark. The storytelling, the directing. I mean, if we don't get any more after Justice League, one of the sequences I'm always going to remember, and I mean what happens at the Capitol building in a BVS will always stick in my mind. I think it's a compelling moment. I remember seeing it for the first time in the cinema. I'm thinking, surely this film was going to get rave reviews and multiple Oscars. And I was stunned when I walked out of the cinema. I looked at my phone and saw the toxic, divisive reaction to this film. I understand that reaction from diehard DC fans who see Superman and Batman as something else, as they've been in most of the comics. But this really is a DC trilogy for the ages, for the paranoid and negative and toxic age that we live in. And ultimately, Snyder just wanted Superman to earn the right to be Superman. So by the end of this movie, I don't even know. Is he going to even wear the red and blue suit? Or is that something that was going to happen at the end of the Justice League trilogy? Like Justice League 1, Justice League 2, Justice League 3. Maybe it was Justice League 3 that he eventually puts the red and blue back on. Isn't that what Snyder said on Vero ages ago? I can't remember. Again, comment down below and correct me or confirm what I'm saying. So we don't even know if this story finishes in any way. We know that Diana chops off Steppenwolf's head, and then we see Darkseid treading on his head, and he goes and he drags the head and himself through the boom tube, and then in the next film, the battle is, I think, taken to Apocalypse, as far as I know. So we want that. But does Zack want that? That is his decision. I will respect whatever he decides, either way. But let me be absolutely clear. I like Zack Snyder as a person and as a creator. Now, I don't know Zack personally, but everyone speaks so highly of him. And not in a normal bullshit Hollywood way like people used to talk about Whedon. And look at the stuff. Jesus, one teenage actress said on Facebook yesterday, Joss wasn't allowed to be in a room alone with her. Jesus Christ. What? And I mean, it doesn't surprise me. People have been messaging me about it. That stuff doesn't surprise me. But when you have such darkness in Tinseltown, which I experienced in my 6 months there, but I also experienced really good creators and good people like Zack Snyder. Now, I'm not going to mention their name, but there was a director and his family, and an actor, by the way, all three, put me up with his family for a little bit and looked after me and believed in me. And in the end, I just turned around and said, look, this life isn't for me. I miss my home, I miss my family, I miss my friends. But they're the kind of things that happened to me. So it was really a mixed bag for me. But what I'm trying to say is to have someone like Whedon, so dark, so soulless, but to have a wonderful guy like Snyder, who isn't, bitter and twisted about his experiences in Hollywood. He keeps on working because he's got the love of a good woman, an independent woman, a strong woman herself. So much time for Deb. Again, I don't know Deb, but she comes across so well. And so I only wish good things for the Snyders. And from a selfish point of view, my love of this character and the DC trademark, I want them to do more, of course. But if they decide enough's enough and they want to walk away from this after Justice League, they want to put their guns back in their holsters and walk off into the sunset, I will respect that. And I think we all need to, as heartbreaking as that would be. But I don't believe that's what they want. I believe they want to make more. I believe this will be the biggest streaming event, or one of them, of all time. And I think we're going to get more Snyderverse. We will restore the the Snyderverse. And it's just getting more and more exciting to be a DC live-action fan. Now, ever since AT&T has taken over Time Warner, major positive changes have happened. First of all, without AT&T and Stanky, we wouldn't be getting Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut. So James Gunn's Peacemaker HBO Max chief announces series release month. So, this is what's been said. If Disney Plus is the streaming service home for the MCU, HBO Max is the home for all things DC. In addition to Warner Bros. Releasing their 2021 theatrical slate on HBO Max, the streaming service features an expansive DC library that's only continuing to grow. Along with the highly anticipated Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut, streaming on March 18th, HBO Max is also releasing the Suicide Squad spin-off series starring John Cena as Peacemaker, with James Gunn back in the director's chair. Peacemaker was the first DC show HBO greenlit. According to The Hollywood Reporter, HBO content chief Casey Bloys had the following to say about the HBO Max's upcoming DC content while confirming Peacemaker's January the 2022 release window. Peacemaker is one of the first shows I greenlit and one of the first shows coming out in January 2022. It's a great example of what HBO Max can do with DC content, in that we're producing at a level we haven't seen DC content on TV do thus far. Clearly, HBO is confident in James Gunn's direction for the Suicide Squad and eager to continue his storytelling, especially since the film itself isn't scheduled to drop until August the 6th, 2021. In fact, Gunn confirmed in January that the series has already begun filming and is set to debut in January 2022, 5 months after the Suicide Squad's release. So it's pretty much like we're getting a James Gunn Suicide Squad sequel in January of 2022. Very exciting. A series connected to a film echoes Disney+. The Suicide Squad, followed by the Peacemaker series, will contribute to HBO Max's growing wealth of DC content and provide the opportunity to connect the DC film with a consequent series in a fashion similar to what both Lucasfilm and Marvel have accomplished on Disney+. Even though Peacemaker is a prequel to the Suicide Squad, fans shouldn't expect to hear much about the series until after the Suicide Squad is released in theatres and on HBO Max. But if Warner Bros. And HBO Max's confidence isn't misplaced, and the reboot film is not a reboot film, is a success, promotion for the Cena-led series shouldn't be too much of a challenge. While Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy films are known for their irreverent humour and cosmic setting, much of their success lies in Gunn's focus on memorable, well-developed characters. If Gunn continues this approach, which he will, with his take on the Suicide Squad, fans are likely to be just as invested in the history of its characters as they were with Guardians. And yeah, and there's a bit more meat to unpackage with this story. And what Casey Bloys is doing over on HBO Max and the point she's making is very important if you love DC. So we continue on this subject and with this interview with Casey Bloys, who is controlling HBO Max content, doing a really good job. HBO Max boss addresses DC superheroes brand confusion with on-screen franchises. Look, this has been a problem. As much as I love DC and I love the content they've done in the past, you know, now Stanky and AT&T are really cleaning up house, and I love this. While some movies and television programs based on DC Comics have absolutely delivered, there have been numerous instances where the final product left a lot to be desired. Much of this comes from the fact that there are multiple separate universes for DC and they all exist simultaneously. The company's biggest competitors at Marvel have mastered the art of the interconnected universe, with 23 box office hits in the Infinity Saga and over 24 sequel projects set to premiere over the next 3 years. All of this is going on while DC Comics attempts to balance the DC Extended Universe project that release in theatres, the Arrowverse TV shows on the CW, and multiple other series in releasing in their own worlds. This is leading to plenty of confusion for DC fans, which was addressed in a recent chat with one of the top men bringing in these projects into the spotlight. Confusion between DC franchises. In a new interview with The Hollywood Reporter, HBO chief Casey Bloys, addressed DC's multiple universes, noting that Warner Brothers is working to make their content based on DC properties more streamlined going forward with multiple franchises. Bloys described how Warner Media CEO Ann Sarnoff is making it a priority to organise these projects better in a way that makes sure that the universe is logical and makes sense. Very important. This is why they're doing the multiverse strategy in Flashpoint, by the way. We'll discuss that in a minute. So this is what Casey had to say. I just started to get involved with the DC content in August. Peacemaker is one of the first shows I greenlit and one of the first shows coming out in January 2022. It's a great example of what HBO Max can do with DC content in that we're producing at a level we haven't seen DC content on TV do thus far. It's been one of Warner Media CEO and Ann Sarnoff's priorities to organise the DC world for exactly what you're talking about, to make sure that the universe is logical and makes sense. She talks about the flywheel, that the movies speak to the TV shows that speak to the movies, it's all connected. This is very important. This is what we've heard from Walter Hamada as well. For every movie, there'll be a TV spin-off that's connected with the movie over on HBO Max. You won't have the TV spin-off version not be able to bring on Robert Pattinson's Batman in the Gotham PD. And there's an article from DC Direct about that, and I'll read that shortly. Bloys continued to explain that this is to help the company talk with one voice about the DC universe. It's about time. When asked about the company's objective to avoid brand confusion, there's a lot of work going on in that at DC and Warner Brothers that is very much something that Ann has made a priority and the company is doing. It's one of the things in terms of Warner Media today versus Time Warner 5 years ago. I have regular conversations now with Warner Brothers film chief Toby Emmerich and DC content chief Jim Lee, and we talk about all things in the way that never would have been discussed before. That's probably how you got a little DC over here and a little of DC over there, etc. The idea going forward is that we're talking with one voice about the DC universe. It's really valuable world to have, and we want to make sure we're using it correctly. Casey is absolutely spot on. DC trying to be all connected. No matter how hard they try to distinguish themselves, DC flicks will always be compared to the Marvel Cinematic Universe as comic publishers. The two are the leading names in the superhero business, so it's only natural for viewers to juxtapose the companies on screen. That being said, DC is very different from Marvel considering how the company has multiple unique series and universes simultaneously running on various mediums. That leads to multiple versions of their biggest heroes all airing simultaneously. This is notably seen with Superman as Henry Cavill portrays the Man of Steel in the DCEU, while Tyler Hoechlin calls himself Clark Kent in the Arrowverse. He's Clark Kent and Superman in the Arrowverse. What are you talking about? While the comic book mogul doesn't seem like it will change drastically from this model, you see what I mean? You've just reported on something where Casey Bloys has said, we want the TV shows and the movies and the TV spin-offs to connect. We want everything to connect. We want all department heads to be in communication. Something we've heard Walter Hamada say again before. So things are going to change, even though you're trying to be negative and say they won't. While the comic book mogul doesn't seem like it will change drastically from this model, it will be interesting to see how their strategy evolves over the next few years. With so many new projects on the way, the DCEU is going full steam ahead with the movies like Suicide Squad and Aquaman 2, and there are more new series on the way for television and streaming like Superman and Lois on the CW and Titans at HBO Max. While most DC projects on the small screen are spin-offs of pre-established characters, Hoechlin's Superman has been in place since he debuted in Season 2 of Supergirl. DC is set to branch off future movies with their own streaming shows. John Cena's Peacemaker will bring the former WWE Champion's character into a serialized story after he debuts in the Suicide Squad, and the Gotham City series will prequel Robert Pattinson's The Batman. With all these movies pieces coming into play soon, it's safe to say that the next few years will be a time for potentially big adjustments for Warner Brothers and DC. Exactly. Now we're going to discuss Batman, The Batman, and the Gotham PD show, and that is very interesting as well. HBO boss addresses crossovers between Robert Pattinson's The Batman and the Gotham PD series. The myth and the lore surrounding the Batman is poised to expand on the small screen through the untitled Gotham PD spin-off set before the events of the 2022 DCEU film. The police procedural series will explore the corruption that lurks within Gotham City, as well as several announced compelling and complex characters. It was also confirmed that the exact timeline where the show will be set will be during year one. So don't forget, because this is a prequel, Gotham PD. Gotham PD is year one, but the Batman is year two. I was a bit confused why the film was starting on year two and not year one, but maybe that's just what Matt wanted to do. But Matt's actually starting this with year one with Gotham PD. Very exciting. Of Bruce Wayne's heroic turn as the Dark Knight. Based on this reveal, the show provides a unique opportunity to showcase the dangers of Gotham while also digging deep into how criminals learned about the existence of the Caped Crusader. Production for the spin-off has yet to commence, but the show already lost its original showrunner, Terence Winter, due to creative differences. Despite that, Joe Barton was announced as the replacement, and it looks like it's only a matter of time before cameras start rolling. Very good news. A Gotham crossover. While speaking with the Wrap, HBO content chief Casey Bloys addressed a strong connection between Matt Reeves' The Batman and the Gotham PD spin-off on HBO Max. When asked if characters from the feature film will appear in the TV show, Bloys shared that a crossover was always the idea, pointing out that they don't want to reserve characters just for films or for TV. This is good. This is what we want to see. And I will discuss what this means for the future of all DC live-action content. This generally confirms that characters from Robert Pattinson-led projects will also appear in the Gotham-centric spin-off. That's the idea. Matt Reeves is obviously a producer on Gotham City PD. We don't want to reserve characters just for films or for TV. There should be a kind of some fluidity between them, agreed? So that is the idea. I mean, we're in very early stages on that, so I don't want to suggest that any one character will be, but yeah, that is generally speaking what is the idea, that there will be crossover. That's important. You don't want to have, it's a spin-off. Some spin-offs are kind of frustrating because they pretend the other world doesn't exist, but this is great. This is genius. As it is, it makes sense for the characters from the film to cross over into HBO Max series. The whole approach from HBO Max and Warner Brothers is similar to the strategy Marvel is using when it comes to their Disney Plus shows. In a way, that's a good thing. Basically, right? Just because they did it first, it doesn't mean nobody else can do it. But the reason they're doing it successfully over at Disney Plus is because they're spinning off from a successful existing platform. So that's important. By following this trend, it has the potential to create more storylines along the way, while also introducing more exciting characters that can easily be featured in a potential sequel to The Batman. On the surface, Jeffrey Wright's Jim Gordon is the clear-cut favourite to appear in the Gotham spin-off. After all, the main focus of the show is Gotham PD, and it's hard to envision a scenario where Gotham's police commissioner is not featured. Meanwhile, this raised the question whether Bruce Wayne will appear in some capacity in the series. In a way, it makes sense in the narrative for the Playboy billionaire to be involved in some form, but the series should be careful in using the character. It's not up to you, thankfully. This is to prevent the attention of fans to shift towards Batman and not focus on the GCPD anymore. Overall, the crossover is an exciting prospect for the spin-off, and it presents a wide array of possibilities for the Batman franchise as a whole. This is not just about the Batman or James Gunn's The Suicide Squad or Peacemaker. What you're hearing from Casey Bloys, who literally is only in charge, he's a content chief over at HBO Max, but it's the attitude coming from HBO Max, it's the attitude coming from Warner Media and all the department heads, and they're all making the same noise about creating an interconnected live-action franchise. It doesn't matter if you're Titans. It doesn't matter if you're the Batman or Gotham PD or Peacemaker or James Gunn's Suicide Squad. Not only will these movies and spin-offs to those movies be connected, but the whole of the multiverse is going to be connected and not separated. And this is why they're using Flashpoint, Ezra Miller's first Flash movie, to interconnect this whole universe. And this, my friends, is a really exciting thing for anyone who loves DC. I don't know what they're going to do with the Snyderverse if they decide to go, and carry on with it, if that will be connected. But certainly everything else is going to be connected. This makes things very exciting. This makes me excited. But the point being is, if the films are no good, it doesn't matter what you connect. So it's very important. I think what they're saying is we focus on the movies and maybe have an exciting post-credit scene to kind of give you a little cliffhanger of what's going to happen next within the multiverse. Or have like some cameos in the movies, but the director and the writer of the movie and the creators of that movie are still focusing on that movie without having to look too far ahead, but just sliding little things in. Now, this is the concept I like. This is why the MCU is successful. People enjoy the movies, but there's a continuing story here. There's a continuing thread. This is the genius of WandaVision. WandaVision is the origin of Marvel Phase 4, and it's working out very well. Now, if we can do the same over at DC, then the live-action universe and the plans that all these department heads are forming is very exciting. And we are going to have a very exciting future. Yes, my friends, everything DC is shaping up really well. And just to belabor the point, James Gunn did comment on what Casey Bloys has been saying over at The Hollywood Reporter. So he quote tweets the comments and the quotes from Casey Bloys. So, Chief Content Officer of HBO and HBO Max, Casey Bloys, revealed this morning when Peacemaker would be out, January 2022, and talked a bit more about integrating the DC film and TV universe, which I'm happy to help be a bit more unified. So, what they're doing as well, one of the reasons they're using Gunn has experience of how it's done over at Marvel, so he's kind of advising them how to connect everything together. He's the right person to do it. He has the similar attitude to Feige. Now, this is very important, and this is why I believe that Gunn's future is at DC, and after Guardians 3, he'll be done over there because he wasn't happy with the way they treated him and just sacked him just like that. He goes on. Peacemaker is my first real foray into television, and I'm enjoying it immensely. Being able to explore the lives and relationships of characters over numerous episodes feels like being able to fully breathe creatively for the first time. And actually, I think, let's see what else he says, because I miss it. These are proper threads. Oh, yeah, no, it's just what I'm going to read out to you anyway. Sorry about that. So yes, he goes on here and says, there's simply more space to explore the wholeness of characters than in a 2-hour film. And watching this amazing cast and crew bring that world to life on a daily basis has been a pure joy. I'm really looking forward to showing you all what we're cooking up. So that's what he had to say. So as I say, this is why Gunn's involvement was always very important. Gunn being sacked for historical tweets was a key moment for the DC cinematic universe, because we could give him an opportunity to come and tell our stories, and he loves Suicide Squad, but he can also advise Hamada. He's had lengthy conversations about Hamada. He knows Hamada's plans, about Superman. He's already kind of bragged about that over on Twitter, that Walter Hamada told him his future plans for Superman. So they've had lengthy conversations, chats. So he's not just there to make these movies and these TV projects. He's there to advise Hamada as well. Hamada did the right thing in bringing Gunn over. He's important, especially for the mainstream audience. Now, for other people who like all sorts of things, like the Snyderverse, we've got the best of both worlds. We've got so many different creatives. This can be an interconnected universe with a kick, with a difference. And that, my friends, is the most exciting thing of all. Wonder Woman's Robin Wright really wants Amazon spin-off movie. by Richard Niebens. Amongst all the issues permeating the DC Extended Universe, both in front of the camera and behind it, one of the saga's biggest success stories is the Wonder Woman franchise. So far, director Patty Jenkins and starring actress Gal Gadot have led the way on 2 intriguing solo films, with a third confirmed to be on the way. One of the aspects of these movies that sets it apart from its DCEU companions has been its rich world building. The other DCEU films don't have rich world building. Maybe you should watch them again. Anyway, where are we? But yeah, so one of the aspects of these movies that sets it apart from its DCEU companions has been its rich world building, bringing to screen a living Themyscira and its Amazonians. Last year's Wonder Woman 1984 touched on Diana Prince's early days in the movie's opening scene. Right, let's just stop there. We saw a glorious Krypton. We saw in Man of Steel, we saw a glorious, what's it called? Atlantis. We saw a glorious Atlantis in James Wan's Aquaman. So it's not the only movie franchise in the DC Extended Universe that's done glorious world building. So you're talking shit. And the original Wonder Woman had a solid portion of the runtime dedicated to her life on the fictional DC island, as Man of Steel did on Krypton. Themyscira and Atlantis. You know, we have lots of screen time on Atlantis in Aquaman. Anyway, Themyscira has become a highly discussed topic thanks to its portrayal on screen, so much so that fans and actors alike want to see even more of it. Count Robin Wright in on a Themyscira movie. In a recent chat with Rotten Tomatoes, Wonder Woman star Robin Wright tackled the idea of a movie in the franchise set completely in Themyscira. While nothing like this is specifically planned at the moment, Wright adamantly said that she would jump at that in a second if anything came to fruition. Oh, I would jump at that in a second if that was ever to come to fruition. That was so much fun making those movies. That's a great idea. The whole youth of Diana, you should propose that. Let's make an Amazon movie. Warner Brothers make an Amazon movie. Robin Wright's Antwerp came into 2017's Wonder Woman as the toughest and most accomplished warrior in Themyscira while she trained a young Diana Prince into much of the hero she became. Unfortunately, she was killed off early in the movie during the battle with German soldiers before she made a short appearance in the opening scene of Wonder Woman 1984 3 years later. Although Wright hasn't been blessed with a ton of screen time in the DCEU to date, she's clearly passionate about her experience making these movies, additionally considering the popularity of the Wonder Woman franchise within the DCEU. Movies centered around Amazons doesn't seem to be completely out of the question. A film like this would almost certainly be a prequel to Wonder Woman and could take the time to expand on Diana Prince's evolution from a young prodigy into a full-blown warrior. There are still plenty of mysteries surrounding the history of Themyscira and its people. An entire movie centered around that world would provide ample storytelling opportunities while not be restricted with the need to connect to other DC projects. Additionally, the Linda Carter tease from the end of Wonder Woman 1984 opens the door for her character to be explored in the future. Listen, I love Robin Wright. I first discovered Robin Wright as an actor on the very cheaply made basic soap called Santa Barbara, and she had great quality back then doing a project like that. But she's so good as Antiope. She really is. I love her. I love seeing her. I get excited when I see her. Now, there was discussions, and I don't know why they haven't mentioned it, but Patty Jenkins is developing a Themyscira kind of prequel to the Wonder Woman movies kind of TV show. Now, actually, strike that because it's never been confirmed as a TV show. Patty Jenkins has confirmed on multiple occasions that she's developing an Amazonian spin-off movie. Now, whether that's going to be in movie theatres or on HBO Max, who knows? But that is in development, so I'm surprised they haven't mentioned that. Now, obviously, Robin Wright would need to be involved in that. She's already said she'd be up for that. And nothing would excite me more to expand these DC universes on HBO Max or on cinema screens or wherever. I'm not fussed. It's a great thing to expand the DC Extended Universe. But let's not start writing articles and saying the other films like Man of Steel and Aquaman, didn't world build. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. But anyway, let them say what they want. As I say, you love what you love and others can hate what they hate. That's the way of the world. Well, that's it for today. So please comment down below, like, share and subscribe. And I'll be back tomorrow with even more DCEU Daily. See you again soon.